"We've worked with each other for more than 12 years, he proudly said to me in my role as a workplace mediator. Then his tone changed. But something went wrong about 5 years ago. We used to be good mates." His colleague nodded in agreement. Regardless of the size of the team, no matter over how many locations they are situated, irrespective of how many shifts they're on, workplace conflict might hide, but it doesn't get forgotten. So, what can you do if you've got an ongoing conflict in your workplace? Well, stay tuned, because in this video I'm talking about why conflict needs to be addressed, regardless of how old it is. Hi, I'm Andrea Doyle, owner of Doyle Solutions. I'm a workplace mediator, conflict manager, author and presenter. And in this post, I really want you to consider that if there's age-old conflict in your workplace, that it does need to be addressed. So, in this mediation that I was managing, it had taken 5 years for this conversation. So why do people wait for up to 5 years before bringing people together who have had a conflict in the past for a well-managed conversation? Because that's all a mediation is, a well-managed conversation where they get to talk about what happened to them and where they get to hear about what happened from the other person's perspective. More often than not, mediations tend to finish with a handshake, or in this case it was even a hug. I wasn't involved. But if it happened 5 years ago, well, why bother now? Why address it? Well, as Sam and Aaron will confirm, although it may have been 5 years ago, it still felt like yesterday to them. They still remember where they were when it happened, what was said and who else was around. What astounded them during this mediation was that they had never sat down to have a conversation about what had happened. Why? Well, because they had lost trust in each other. Getting participants in a mediation to talk at the beginning is quite a slow process because that trust isn't there. And it takes them a while to work out during the session if that trust is going to come back. Once the participants do start to believe that there is trust again with their colleague, then that's when the mediator will notice that there is an ease of conversation starting to occur. Up until that point, it's quite stilted and the mediator is directing a lot of the conversation. Now, the original conflict still affected them, and that's how it all came to a head. The final straw was when Aaron purposefully left items for Sam upside down. Sam had had enough. He went to HR and he complained. Aaron had also had enough. He was frustrated, so that's why he demonstrated this behaviour. And who else was over it and frustrated? That's right, HR, because it had been ongoing bits of poor behaviour being demonstrated over a period of time. So what can you do today if you're observing behaviours in your workplace that just aren't right and that just keep coming up between two employees? Well, bring them together for a structured one-on-one conversation and follow this outline. Firstly, remind them of your expectations and those of the business. Secondly, ask them to consider the impact that this is having on them, the other person involved, but also all the other people around in their team. Thirdly, find out how it started and where it went wrong and why it wasn't fixed at that point in time. Then, ask how they think it could be resolved. Sometimes they know the answer, they just don't know how to get started. And then what you could do is to float the idea of them coming together to have a conversation. If they're nervous about doing that on their own, then that's when you bring in a third person, whether it's yourself or somebody experienced like a workplace mediator or a conflict manager. If you have someone in your workplace who can manage a mediation process, then it's great for an independent person to come in and assist with this process. And in Sam and Aaron's situation, it was time that the business said, enough, we will not put up with this any longer. This is what's going to happen. And both of them were actually quite relieved to know that the mediation was going to go ahead. As much as the business and HR wanted this matter sorted, so too did Sam and Aaron. They had had enough. And after only 3 hours, they stood up from the mediation table and they went to give each other a handshake and then they gave each other a hug. So after 5 years, took 3 hours, 2 relieved colleagues, and now one team. And that's why conflict at work needs to be addressed, regardless of how long it's been going on, because you end up again with one team. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Andrea Doyle. Bye for now.